In this lecture, we are going to look at the IAPP's security domains for the CIPP exam. Now, this caveat up front is really important. If you bring up the topic of security domains with cybersecurity professionals or even folks that have studied for other IAPP exams, the terminology is going to be different. And this is the terminology you should remember for the exam. Once we look at those security domains, we're going to look at measures and controls, potential incidents, and then we will go through the three domains in depth. These are preventative, incident detection and response, and remedial. Again, the presentation here, this is based on IAPP's own terminology. The three security domains for the CIPPE exam are preventative, incident detection and response, and remedial. For preventative, we are looking at limiting and mitigating risk. For incident detection and response, we are looking at identifying and responding to data breaches, for example. And for remedial, we are looking at recovering, repairing, and applying lessons learned. Now, even though this is CIPPE specific terminology, the principles here are the same principles that undergird frameworks such as the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, or the NIST CSF. So the terminology here is transferable. You could have a conversation with other colleagues using these three terms, but their approach, their framework is going to be a little different. It's important that our organizations prepare for a spectrum of incidents. These range from unintentional loss to a malicious actor gaining unauthorized access to your networks. Unintentional loss, of course, this could be an employee that loses a file folder or loses their laptop or loses a portable hard drive. And then, of course, with malicious actors, these are hackers that are gaining access to your network and are altering or stealing your data. Other examples of incidents that fall on this spectrum include lost or stolen devices, human error, for example, sending an email with an attachment to the wrong person, backup failures. Here we're talking about data backup. So where are your backup drives for your organization? Where is your data in case your primary servers get wiped for whatever reason? Phishing campaigns, malware and ransomware, social engineering, denial of service, and zero-day exploits. When it comes to the preventative security domain, we are developing, reviewing, and updating our incident response plan. We are monitoring for insider threats. Now, an insider threat, this can be both intentional and unintentional. Unintentional in the sense that, again, we mistakenly email a file that we shouldn't to someone that we shouldn't, either inside or outside of our organization. We can also have intentional misuse of organization resources. For example, someone that just got fired, they go in and they steal a bunch of data, or they send a bunch of emails out that they shouldn't. In the preventative domain, we are also establishing clear roles, responsibilities, and communication channels. We are also doing training and awareness. This is where employees must uphold the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of our data and work within the data controller's prerogative. Preventative also includes encryption and pseudonymization. These are things that we want to consider during the system design stage. That is, before we collect data, is there a way that as we are collecting that data, we can pseudonymize it to minimize the personal identifiers that we're collecting? Similarly, for encryption, we want to secure that data in transit as it's being transferred from the data subject to the data controller. Is there an encrypted tunnel or repository that we can store the data in? Other more technical aspects include firewalls, antivirus and anti-malware software, endpoint protection, endpoint being a terminal device, maybe your mobile phone or the organization or company laptop that you're working on, data loss prevention, and multi-factor authentication or MFA. For incident detection, we're going to be relying a lot on cybersecurity tools such as intrusion detection or intrusion prevention systems. The acronym for these are IDS and IPS. We may also have a security information and event management tool or a SIM. Now, a SIM can be, for example, maybe very sophisticated. Perhaps it's an AI or machine learning tool that scans everything that's happening on your network, the data that's coming and going, the people that are gaining access, IP addresses, and so forth. And what the SIM is doing is it's looking for anomalies. Is there an account that has been dormant for years that is suddenly now active? Is there a large amount of data, perhaps gigabytes or terabytes of data that are suddenly leaving the organization? And a SIM will be able to detect these anomalies, flag them, and perhaps even shut them down. And a lot of this monitoring, the monitoring of these systems of an IDS, IPS, and SIM, a lot of this is happening by analysts in your SOC or Security Operations Center. And so this is really, in most cases, your first line of defense, these tools and the folks that are analyzing the outputs of these tools. So we have our preventative domain, we have our incident detection and response domain. Finally, we have the remedial domain. Once we have detected an incident, we now want to remediate it. And that begins with containment or eradicating the threat. And so if there's a malicious actor that's in our network, we either want to kick them out or we want to contain them to wherever they are. Why might we contain them? Well, we might want to observe their behavior to see if there's anything we can learn from how they entered our network or what they're trying to do. Once we have identified the vulnerability, whatever that is, if it was a software or some other technical vulnerability, it may be possible that we can update or patch some software or the operating system. And this would prevent that vulnerability from, well, being a vulnerability again, hopefully. If the incident was caused due to human error, then there may be some degree of training or awareness that we can implement to, again, prevent this from happening again. And once everything is done, once the incident has been remediated, there's going to be a post-incident review and improvement stage. Again, what can we learn from this? Are there any further action items to take? In short, how can we prevent these types of incidents from happening again? In this lecture, we looked at the 3 IAPP, specifically CIPPE, specific security domains. These are preventative, incident detection and response, and remedial. With preventative, we are limiting and mitigating risk. With detection and response, we are identifying and responding to risk. And with remedial, we are recovering, repairing, and applying lessons learned. Remember that measures or controls, these are appropriate technical and organizational measures. A control is implemented to mitigate risk. Potential incidents, there's a broad spectrum, everything from unintentional loss all the way to a malicious actor. For the preventative domain, we're developing, reviewing, and updating incident response plans. We are monitoring for insider threat. We are establishing clear roles, responsibilities, and communication challenges. We are implementing training and awareness. We are ensuring that our employees uphold the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of our data and systems. And we're using encryption and pseudonymization. 3 incident detection and response tools include intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, and security information and event management, or SIM. All of this is being analyzed in your organization's SOC, or Security Operations Center. And finally, when it comes to remediation, we're concerned with containment and eradication, updating and patching your software and operating systems, training and awareness, and post-incident review and improvement.